Masculinity is not the problem. Toxic masculinity is actually beta masculinity. It's where men fail to do what men are supposed to do. The minute a man is on purpose, he becomes unstoppable when that commitment is a part of that DNA. Now, if I wanted to disembowel a man and disembowel a society, the first thing I'm going to do is strip them of their masculinity. I'm going to get them disconnected from a real purpose and get them distracted by finding out who's your favorite football team and getting all riled up over shit they can't control.
You're a man living in the modern world in a time when men and manhood are not what they once were. You live life on your own terms. You're self-sufficient. You think for yourself, and you march to the beat of your own drum. When life knocks you down, you get back up, because in your gut, you know that's what men do. You're a badass and a warrior, and on the days when you forget, we are here to remind you who you really are.
So, Ron Musser, let me give you a sense of his credentials. So, he was the director of coaching and training and sales at Anthony Robbins Research International. He helped them add well over $100 million in additional sales with his innovative methods. And he is in a category of one. There is one of one when it comes to uplifting groups of people and taking them to the next level of success. He also started working with another organization called Clients on Demand that was doing about $1 million a year. He raised them to $25 million a year. And he has helped over 4,000 entrepreneurs add over $1 billion to their success. So, men, I am hyper excited to have him here. So let's give a warm Sovereign Man welcome to Von Musser and take it away, sir. And you have 59 minutes exactly. Go.
Okay, awesome. So first off, I just wanted to say a huge congratulations to all of you guys. We're going to talk today about kind of what happened to masculinity, real masculinity in America and Canada and the world and the consequences, but more importantly, how to win and win big. And I've seen Larry before and Michael, obviously, it's great to see you again and a couple of you guys. But part of this is that I wanted to share with you. And first and foremost, in a world of men, there's very few that are in a men's group. There's very few that have the courage and the gonads to even be in this kind of a group. I don't mean to be mean and judgmental, but I know some men's group and they should call them bitch groups because they're little betas. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but it's like, fuck me. Are you guys going to stand the fuck up or sit there and talk about, it's just mind boggling. They're part of the problem. Well, my divine feminine and all this shit. And it's like, and you wonder why your fucking business is melting down. Your total, your girlfriend's cucking with some other dude and you wonder where the hell you went. And this is the sort of thing too, which stacks on what Nikki's getting to with you guys on commitments. The biggest sin on commitments is we destroy our own self-worth. So every time I say I'm guilty as well. I'm just telling you and I'm going to observe everything I'm telling you guys. I'm in the same boat as you. I'm not better than you. I'm just simply in a place that I observe a lot. I've had the pleasure to sit in some seats. But every time we miss a commitment, it starts to create the imposter syndrome in ourselves. And then when we say, I want to go make $1 million, I want to get in shape, but I've cheated on my diet for the last year. I cheated on my commitments. I skipped and I did it. Ask yourself this question. If there was $10 million that you had to pay if you broke your commitment, could you have still made your commitment? Of course you could. And what happens, though, is that we forget how powerful we truly are. And that's part of what we have to correct. Before we start taking action, we have to first decide what it is we want. One of the greatest mistakes and the greatest lies that was ever told to us is that we've been mocked, we've been ridiculed, we've been emasculated, we've been said, if you go back, look at the TV show starting in about the 70s and the 80s, where they emasculated men. And that was just the start. Movies, everything. You've got your Al Bundys, you've got your Tim the Two-Man Taylor, and what you have is a bunch of times the men have been the punchline for pretty much every comedy and every TV show for the last 40 years. Now, that was screw up one. I remember Alan Alda, oh, he's so sensitive, oh, and this stuff like that. And all of a sudden, if you were a man providing for your family, that wasn't enough because you weren't as sensitive as Alan Alda, because you weren't doing this. Now, granted, the movie stars would be cheating on their wives, cheating on themselves, doing major drugs, doing all sorts of shit. But boy, oh boy, did media shove those fuckers in our face. So what happens is we start wondering, well, what's wrong with us? So the second thing that happened is men by not stepping up and not owning that, they also started playing along in the demise. We started avoiding speaking truthful conversations because we knew it would not be accepted. We allowed the Alan Aldas of the world, if you will, and the betas to take over. Masculinity is not the problem. Toxic masculinity is actually beta masculinity. It's where men fail to do what men are supposed to do. And no offense to the fat women, but if my house is on fire, I don't want a fat woman sitting there telling me, people care about how you look. You want the best person for the job to come in and knock the door down and drag everyone out. But we have allowed too many of these people to say, I want to be politically correct. No offense, if you're going into battle, do you want the person that's or let's say flying a jet? Just ask yourself right now, do you want the person that was picked based on their color, their gender, and whether or not they're sexually trans or whatever? And this isn't a political thing, but do you want that person or do you want the best person to fly that jet? And so what's happened is we already know what's going to happen if we bring this up in society. They're going to go apeshit, and for about 30 years, you'd be canceled. So we stood down. It was easier than the fight. So what most good men did, they just took care of their families. They dated. They did their own thing. But what happened was masculinity got corrupted. We were made fun of. Now you've got these guys wearing dresses, and it's like, look at how innovative he is. And so what's happened, though, is they have been attacking masculinity. Now, conversely, they have also been forcing women into masculinity, which is not their nature either. Because men were not being masculine, the women stepped up to do that part too. But when we think about psycho women, it's because they're in their masculine. That is not the nature of what women thrive in. And so I'm not saying that we don't have access to both. You will need to have access to your feminine, but you have to decide how you're going to live. And when we look at what's been happening, now that women have been starting to act like CEOs, their death rate and their heart attacks are actually higher than men. Why do you think that is? Because they're not meant to handle that type of stress. They're nurturers. They're supposed to do this. Every single study they have ever done where they take girls, pull them away, and boys, the girls will instinctively start playing with dolls. The boys will instinctively start playing, roughhouse. But what happened in our school systems? 70% or more of the boys were raised by women. Teachers, women. Overwhelmingly. Churches, women. Social workers, women. Librarians, women. A lot of the men were not at home. They didn't have fathers. When the courts have a divorce, who do they give the babies to, the kids to, men or the women? Now, let's break this down. And what happens when you have a male and female, a husband and a wife, raise a family? You know what happens? There is an exponentially lower chance of suicide, an exponentially lower chance of kids going to prison and things like that. If you give the kids to the man, it's almost the same exact number. So if the father got custody, the kids do not go to prison. They do not do this stuff. But if you give them to the women, 12 times more likely to go to prison, 12 times more likely to commit murder and robbery, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Men have to step back and get back into play. It does not matter. But if you step back and look at it, just be objective, chaos and crazy and stupid took over. And so it's the weak men that are creating the wars. It is the weak men that are kind of trying to please everybody and not speak a truth. And in the absence of real leadership, chaos will reign. Third thing, we got off focus. Men are providers. Men are supposed to implement, but what has happened, and you can look at certain ethnic communities, you look at this, when you go back into the 60s and the 70s, when they forced men out and they basically were rewarding people to be single moms, they make a lot of money doing that. What happened in that community? Skyrocketing. All of a sudden, and now we've gone from about 28% African Americans, as an example, had a father in the home in the 60s. Now it's about 78% are born without a father in the home. That is the issue. Obama's talked about it. Bill Cosby's talked about it. Thomas Sowell's talked about it. But oh boy, you're a racist if you point out the blatantly obvious. And so what happens, though, is that masculinity is critically important. There was an issue, and Michael, you might have heard this too, but there was a problem in Africa. Africa had this one area where the elephants were trampling and killing everything. They were killing rhinos. They were killing villagers. They were trampling everything they could do, crops. They were just going apeshit. Now they had the biologists come in and look at it, and they couldn't figure it out. Eventually, they figured it out. What had happened is poachers killed all the men bull elephants. So what did they do? They brought in bull elephants from other areas that were in other tribes where they had multiple bull elephants. They pulled in a few of those. The nonsense stopped immediately because it reestablished that pecking order. And just like if elephants can reestablish that, we can do the same thing for human beings. And what's sad is that you're noticing the same pattern that happened in the Black community, and I'm not happy about it at all because I don't think it was an accident. I think it was intentional to start breaking up America. And now the same things happen in the Latin community, and the same thing is now happening in the Caucasian community. And you know where it's not? It's not happening in Asian and Jewish communities. That's interesting. I wonder why. Now let's take a look at grades. Asians and Jewish people have the highest grades. Blacks, Mexicans have the lowest grades. Asians, Jewish people watch the least amount of TV, about 6 to 8 hours a week. If you look at Blacks, they're 48 hours of TV, Latinos, 40 hours of TV, Caucasians, 36 hours of TV. It is a direct inflection exactly. Now, what happens when you're a single mom with 4 kids? Do you have time to take care of all of them? Not a chance. If there's a father in the home, they're going to be kicking some ass, very similar to kind of how Nikki is. He's not going to let shit slide. When I was growing up in San Clemente, I saw the exact same demographics I'm talking about, but the father was still in the house and there were the Marines. These were some badass people, Blacks, Mexicans, Jews, everything. Interesting. So one of the things that I wanted to throw out to you is when in this program, guys, you guys are the leaders of tomorrow. You might not be leading and running for prime minister. You might not be leading that, but you're going to lead your family, your friends. You will be the example for people when they're wondering, what the fuck? Why are you guys different? Now, there's some perks that come along with this too. As you guys step back into your authentic masculine, if you're already in a relationship, you're going to find the polarity and the sex appeal from your partner is going to go through the roof. When you get back in alignment, you're going to find that all of a sudden you become a magnet because that is the natural order. Second thing is you're going to find out that when you start living in your authentic truth, you're going to find out your businesses start jumping up and growing up big as well. And there's things that we can do very, very quickly. I've watched people that have flipped and totally flipped. I saw a friend of mine that I coached. He wore a skirt, or as he called it, a skirt. It was a fucking dress. Now, how do you think that happened? What happened to the polarity in this guy's marriage? What do you guys think? After she divorced him and we got him back in, this guy became one of the best coaches we had at Tony Robbins. Got his shit together, started stepping into his power, started recognizing that he was playing along with the narrative and the philosophy that was not good. He got his act together, started working out, getting back in shape, started finding out how to be an authentic masculine. The guy became one of our most successful coaches. Found love again, and now he has the relationship he always dreamed of, but he recognized he was the problem. It wasn't society. If you're going to sail from here, San Diego, to Hawaii, are you going to blame the wind when it changes course because now you can't sail, or is it your ability to sail? What do you guys think? The wind is going to do whatever the hell it is. You're ignorant if you're going to watch the media and watch them put you down and make fun of you and tell you you're a piece of shit and that you're toxic white masculinity. Give me a break. You're the biggest threat to society. When you hear that, how do you think that makes you feel? Now, here's the problem. The kids that are coming up, the boys that are coming up, this is a huge contributing factor for suicides. This is a big reason suicides are skyrocketing. You cannot look at people and tell young men, young boys coming up the food chain, telling them you're the problem. You're a pedophile. You're a rapist. You're a misogynist. They don't even know what the fuck those words mean. All they know from the minute they're in elementary school, they're made wrong. And holy shit, if you're white, all you whiteys out there, you guys are fucked. You're the problem. Doesn't feel good. Now, if we flipped the colors and said that about black people, all hell would break loose because we know that's wrong. But for some reason, there's been this pass about white people. It's nonsense. I know white people that are phenomenal. I know white people that are total douchebags. I know black people that are amazing. I know black people that are total douchebags. So it's not the color of our skin, but society and the media is trying to make it about shit like that. But you can't win if you don't acknowledge the field that you're playing in. If you're playing football, and I mean real football, not this shit with soccer type shit. If you're playing that, you notice the refs are calling it fair, unfair. You either quit or you find out how to get better than the refs, right? And if you know they're letting them get rough, then you play rough. But I want you guys to think that you can't ignore the room that you're in. You have to learn how to see what's happening and adjust. That was the break. Men knew it was wrong, but we didn't do a whole hell of a lot about it. And next thing you know, we're electing these little betas, and the next thing you know, they're in charge, and all of a sudden it's even more where we're wrong. And so when we go out there and try and build a business, it's not enough. You go out there and try and build a business, you do everything, and then you come home and you're still in trouble because you weren't sensitive enough. Because yes, you provided, yes, you did this, and all of a sudden you feel like a piece of shit because there's no way for you to win. You can't. If you make too much money, you're shallow. You're money grubbing. You're just about the money. If you don't make enough, you're not a good provider. You know what I mean? And it's nonstop. If you're making love to a woman or whatever, there's no way. Have you guys seen that commercial? It's pretty damn funny. The guy, Nikki, do you remember that thing where he's like, they talk about the joke and it's super, super funny. And then everyone's laughing except the woman. And she goes, what? I thought it was more. He goes, yeah, that's the point.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah, I've seen that. He talks about Adam and Eve.
That's right.
Yeah. And then yeah.
So Adam and Eve go in there and he's like, isn't this amazing? All of our food's provided for us. Everything we want to do is right here. We can make love every day and there's no worries and everything. And then that Eve says, yeah, but I thought there'd be more. And then every one of the guys is laughing, right? And then the one woman in the room looks and she goes, well, I was waiting for more. And everybody busts up laughing because, yeah, that's the point. Yeah. Now, when you start stacking a lot of these type of things, it's no wonder we kind of are, I don't want to say ashamed, but we don't want the fight constantly. And it doesn't have to be a fight, but you have to acknowledge the room that you're in. So that's kind of how we got here. Now, the question is not how we got here, but we got off focus. We got out of alignment. We allowed that to happen. Nikki's group and this group for you guys, this is a big part to bring you guys back into alignment. It's why it's very, very rare. And even at Robbins and stuff like that, where they're talking about the stuff they're talking about is mostly superficial. Make your move, work harder and stuff like that. And that's all good. But if you don't address the core issues, all you're doing is painting over mold. So let's break down 3 things that you can do that can absolutely move the needle, get you back in flow, get you back as well. Because if you do this, it doesn't matter if people are still clinging to the beta male as thinking that's what masculinity is. It doesn't matter if these people keep trying to knock us down. There's nothing more powerful than an aligned man in purpose. So the first thing that I would throw out to you guys, if you guys are going to get back to it, you have to change your focus, change your beliefs about what's going on, and change the meaning about what's happening. Right now is one of the greatest opportunities for you to stand out and for you to scale and for you to build businesses, get back in shape, because not many people are doing it. But the focus has got to be in Michael, this is a big part of what Nikki and what they're talking about for $1 million. If you're going to do that, you're absolutely able to do that, but you're going to have to start to obsess. Obsession means that if they said to do 2 calls, do 3. I just had the pleasure recently to go meet with some billionaires in India, or in Asia rather, and listening to what they went through was mind-boggling. My mind had to go through, were they lucky? No. Couldn't find any way they were lucky. Could I find that they had money handed to them? Nope, not one of them. Were they super, super smart? They were smart, but they were not anything different than you'll hear in this room. But each person, whether it's 1-800-Flowers, whether it's a guy that built up Bali and is kind of like the kingpin of Bali, whether it's someone that built these huge, huge businesses, they were obsessed about their outcomes. So if you're going to win, you have to basically disconnect from the past. The past, you need to grab the wins. Everything that happened, if it happened for you, what would be different the way you look at it? That's where we change the meaning. Right now, you change your focus. What are we focusing on? Are we focusing on how bad we want it? Or are we focusing on that I'm really busy at work and I got to back at 12? I'm not bagging on you, Michael. It's just the part that I heard. I've done exactly what you've done. Even in that, I'd like you to reframe and refocus. You know why? Because most men don't have the courage and the guts and the balls to go ahead and work till fucking 12. Now, that's something that most people don't talk about. You don't get any victories for that because no one's going to give it to you. So you got to grab it yourself. I think that's badass. So, but you still had time. You could have jumped off the phone, gone to the bathroom, made your call, but you can do both. It's the belief that you let creep in that you're too busy. That's the break. But you also forgot to honor yourself for being one of the very few motherfuckers on the planet that will do whatever is necessary. That is going to be required for you to become a multimillionaire. The multimillionaires find a way. And you did that, but you didn't give yourself the grace and the thing, and you will not get it from society. You will not, I hate to say it, most of the time you will not get it from your woman partner either. Maybe you will, but it's very unlikely for whatever reason. But I want you to start honoring that, Michael, and start thinking about, holy shit, I did do that. I know people as well, they're more concerned about how they can manipulate welfare benefits and government handouts than they are about doing something great. I know a lot of people that'll say, oh, I'm too old. That's also a good one. Doesn't matter. Ernestine Shepard, this one black woman, amazing. She started lifting at 55. She's 85 now, and she looks better than most 20-year-old women. No excuses. So part of it, you have to change your focus. Who would you be if you got crystal clear on three main areas? The body of your dreams. Do any of you guys have your all-time body? If you could pick any body on the planet, do you have it? And if not, why not? So I'm going to recommend, and I recommend you not only pick your body, but I want you to pick a level of optimal health as well. Because if you're sick, all of this goes out the window. So you got to start with your foundation. What body would you have? And just like Nikki, we get up. Nikki is relentless with his diet and his food. I mean, it's almost obnoxious. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, he's got his scale because he said he was going to do it. So he has a scale. He's measuring his, what is those ugly orange things, Nikki? Sweet potatoes. He has to eat sweet potatoes every day, and he doesn't even complain about it. He has to eat asparagus. He doesn't even complain about it. He does get to eat steak every day. But the difference is that he's connected to his goal. I'm going to get to that in a second. He's committed to his goal. He's 57. Have you guys, let's be honest, if you walk down to any Target, any Walmart, or any other stores, are most of the people in shape or most of the people fat?
In the USA, most of them are fat.
That's correct. And we have a ton of reasons why, but they're mostly fat. Now, if I wanted to disembowel a man and disembowel a society, the first thing I'm going to do is strip them of their masculinity. I'm going to go ahead and get them fat. I'm going to get them disconnected from a real purpose and get them distracted by finding out who's your favorite football team and getting all riled up over shit they can't control. So they're spending their wad, if you will, yelling at the Raiders or yelling at the Steelers or something that they have no control over instead of fighting for their own dream or their own family or their own greatness. So when you guys are doing that, it's not your age. You can still turn around your physique and your body. When you make it here, I don't care if you start lifting, running, walking, swimming, doing martial arts, but something to move your body. Men have to express. Think about fitness and exercise almost as if like sex. If you cut sex out of your life, and I don't know how the Buddhist temple guys, the Shaolins do it or whatever, and some of the Catholic priests, but men need to express. There's something cathartic about hitting a punching bag, going for a run, lifting weights, doing something physical. You have to do it. So find whatever works for you. Make a commitment to that, because if you will make a commitment to the best version of you, you're the only person that can do that. But then what happens, Michael, is when you're the best version of you and you still get up, you start to realize you're unbeatable and unfuckable with. There's nothing you can't do. And it's like you get up, got up at 4 o'clock. Okay, let's rock. Don't want to, but I want my outcome more. So I want you guys to take a look. I want you guys to think about right now, just do me a favor, do it for yourself. Think about what body you absolutely want. Do you want to be more cut? Do you want more flexibility? Do you want to be able to run, swim, shag like Sting? What is it that you want physically? What are those things that would make it? Write it down. This does not make wrong. If you have a bad back, tough shit. I know people that had their legs blown off, their arms blown off, and they still get in shape. There's always a way. So write it down. Now I want you to jump ahead 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. With that new body, that new ability, that much more respect for yourself because you set a goal and you're doing it. How much more is that going to help you with number 2? And that's for your financial and your business success. I'm here to tell you every single one of you can be a multimillionaire if you're truly committed. Don't know if you can be a billionaire. You have to innovate at a very high level, but you can certainly become a multimillionaire. Now, the other part, none of you guys are going to be able to make it like on porn video like Kim Kardashian or OnlyFans, but we can do it the right way. So I want you to imagine, which version do you want to go into war for your goal about? Do you want the weak version of you, the fat version of you, the scared version of you, or the badass version of you? You get to decide. You pick the best version of you. Now, what does your life look like when you're doing $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year? And guess what? How right now doesn't matter. I can't tell you that was the one thing when Nigel, for example, went there, he got kicked out of the country. He snuck back in. They beat the shit out of him, kicked him out again. He came back a third time with a fake passport. He stayed in there for 6 months, started a restaurant, got bit or spit in the eyes, went blind for a little bit by a spitting cobra at his restaurant. So he went blind for a while. They found out, they kicked him out again. I mean, it went on and on. Now today, he's the largest adventure company in all of Bali. He has the largest chocolate company in all of Bali. He employs 700 people. He has 50 vehicles that drive all over. He has his own helicopter touring company. He has several restaurants. He also saved 29 elephants and created an elephant sanctuary with a hotel and a resort where you can swim with the elephants, wash them, and play with the elephants. That was pretty cool. He didn't know how to do any of it. Didn't matter because he was committed to doing something great. So what happens to you if you get reconnected to that? You can't do that if you think you're a piece of shit because society said white men are bad. Can't do it. So you have to choose your truth. You change the focus, the belief about what's really true, and the meaning about all of this. Throw this possibility in your mind. Is it possible that people were jealous and people were afraid of the fact if we stood up and stood tall? Could that be a problem with some of the globalist control issues? Is it easier to take over a country and a nation when men are weak or when men are strong? What do you think?
Obviously weak.
Obviously weak. Michael for the win. And so what happens though, and it's kind of almost as if they put chemicals in the food that make people obese. That's interesting. I wonder if that might happen. I wonder if there's things like BPAs and certain things in our foods that drop our testosterone like crazy. Today, a 20-year-old has the testosterone level of a 60-year-old 40 years ago. Do you think that's a coincidence? If you guys want, play conspiracy theory or intelligent, go look up a guy, Nikki, what's his name? I think it's Yuri something. He talks about, he's a KGB agent. He does the interviews.
Yuri Bezmenov.
Yeah. He talks about, you can find this, just listen and listen with your own ears and you decide. But he talks about how to throw over country. You can't do it with strong men. Is it wrong or it sure as hell matches up perfectly? But we can choose not to play along. We can choose to get back into our natural badass. We can choose to go ahead and actually go for our dreams and not listen to the nonsense. The media has lost all credibility for damn good reason. If you go back to Walter Cronkite, it was the highest respected field there was. Today, it is down like 14% approval. It's lower than Congress because we're smart enough to know we've been lied to. But that's not enough. We have to decide what we're going to do with the new opportunity. So the first thing is you got to change your focus, your belief system, as well as the meaning you're giving everything. I'm going to make the meaning that this is our opportunity for men to be men and to shine and rise. That's the meaning I'm giving it to. I'm going to give it to that during tough times, good men rise. That's right now. Weak men create tough times. Well, we're at the past that point. The weak men did their job. They created a bunch of shit show. The question is, are we going to step up? Number two, if you want to win and win big now, you have to recommit, reconnect, realign, re-engage to your dreams. Like I said, the past doesn't equal the future unless you continue to drag it in. Grab the wins that you've had, all of them. Like Michael, it's why I'm saying you work till 12. That means you got a great work ethic. That was one of the traits I admired in Nikki, by the way. That is not normal. Far too many people are little betas and they're like, oh, have you guys seen that one guy? He starts sobbing because the company has the audacity to try and make him work 3 hours a day. That's who you're competing with. 3 hours a day as a barista Starbucks, the guy's sobbing because it's so hard and people don't understand what I go through. See what I mean? It's like you guys are not cut from the same cloth, but you got to own the fact you're not cut from the same cloth. You guys are not cut from the same cloth. Very few people have the ability to come here and have honest, real conversations with men. I'm sitting here listening to Nikki go and you guys going back and forth is like, guys, that's not normal. It's really great, but it's not normal. But you got to grab the wins. Second thing, when you talk about that is you have to get back and become obsessed with your goals, your outcomes, and your purpose. The minute a man is on purpose, he becomes unstoppable when that commitment is a part of that DNA. That's part of what Nikki's driving at to get you guys to honor the little commitments. If you won't honor the little ones, there's no way you're going to honor the big ones. So you start building the muscle by honoring those little commitments. You start figuring ways to get creative and find new ways to do it. For example, Michael, during the time you're working your ass off, Did you go to the bathroom and sit in a bathroom stall at any point? Over 40% of all posts on social media happen when people are on the john. Just going to throw this out there. You don't have to tell Michael, hey, Michael, I'm taking a dump. But hey, man, let's talk. Just get on the phone, and if you have to flush, you mute it. Okay, it's all you have to do. But other than that, you can get on the phone and go, Michael, I'm checking in, man. What's going on? Okay, you said you're going to do this. What do you need help with? And start being that for each other. There's always a way for the committed. But if you're thinking subconsciously, or you're thinking, oh, it's not fair and I have to do everything, let's change that. Why don't you also look at the fact that you're one of the rare few that are going to pay whatever price your dream happens? I've been broke. I've made over $1 million a year. I'm telling you, it's the same thing. You just got to have better focus and better commitment. I didn't learn anything new on how to make $1 million other than I got better at my rituals and habits, which I'll get to. So you can absolutely do it. But part of the problem, Michael, is that it's only in your head. You got to get that dream in your heart. It has to start to vibrate in your frequency. And it's like when I was in the military, it's like I did not want to run 12 miles a day. I did not want to swim 3 to 5 miles a day and PT for hours and get surf tortured every day. But I wanted the outcome. I had no idea how far I could go. Same thing is true for you. But the difference is how connected you are. Do you guys know the story of David Goggins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say he's a god and any of that, but he did give us some great examples. David was 310 pounds. He flunked out of the Air Force. He was crashing and burning hard. He ended up being a guy that was cleaning for cockroaches in restaurants in the middle of the night. He had an awakening when he popped up one of the overhead panels and dropped down on him and covered him in live and dead cockroaches, just covered him. So he goes home and he sees this deal. He sees a documentary, which I might have been in, on SEAL Team. And he watched this video and he's like, that's what I want to do. Now, here's the problem. SEALs are king of the water. You got to be a fish. You got to know how to swim. David's 310 pounds and he knows nothing and he can't swim. Not the smartest tool in the shed. So what does he do? He goes to the recruiters and they look at him and they say, oh, yeah, you fatty, get out of here. Even though there were 12 times, if you enroll a black person in the Navy, you get 12 times the credit than if it's a white person. Another inconvenient fact. My friends are recruiters. They love it if they can get anybody black. I know it's crazy, but they get 12 times the credit. So one black person is worth 12 people on the other one. So he goes ahead to the recruiters and they tell him to get out. David had something that most people did not, and that's grit. He wanted it. So he started making phone calls. Now he called a reserve recruiter. This is the Navy Reserves. And he called and he met a guy that could look past his 300 pounds. He's connected to the goal. He's willing to do whatever it takes. So he's 310 pounds. You have to be at least 180 or below. Big problem. We'll get to the swimming thing in a minute. What does he do? He gets the guy and he says, David, I'd love to help you, but I can't until you're under 180 pounds. What did David do? He said, I'll get there. You're going to notice the commitment here. So what does he do? He says, I'm going to start running 10 miles a day. He goes out the first day, he runs 100 meters, breaks down, can't do it anymore, starts crying and walks back and sits on the couch and has a shake. True story. Sobbing because he wants to be a SEAL. He's connected to being a SEAL, but he's fat, he's overweight, and he doesn't know how to run or train. So he goes out the next day, picks himself up off the dust, goes out there and starts to run again. He starts running, he gets about 150 meters, breaks down, goes back, cries, has another shake. He was still committed. He realized his way wasn't working. What did he do? He said, I know how to lift weights. So he went to the gym and he started working out like 10 hours a day, wearing sweatpants and sweats and sweated off. Within 90 days, he dropped 130 pounds. Now, David also doesn't know shit about nutrition, didn't understand about supplements, didn't understand about training, and didn't understand cardio. Could have helped you, big guy. But he has a new problem. He got to 180, but he realizes he can't swim. He has to pass the swim physical. What does he do? He learns and teaches himself to swim. A grown black man trying to learn how to swim, and he taught himself because he's connected to the goal. He knows why he wants the goal, and he is committed and will pay whatever price it is. When he set a commitment, it was ironclad. He passed the swim. Now, against all odds, he makes it into SEAL training. He gets to SEAL training, he gets into Hell Week, and he crashes and burns. I can't remember the first time if he broke his kneecap in the middle of Hell Week. So he's in Hell Week. He breaks his kneecap. He gets bounced to the next class. Heals up, comes back, does Hell Week again the second time, gets hurt again. I think it was stress fractures or something. He limbs out again. They put him back. The third time, he realized that they were going to break him unless he broke them. So what he did was he started, when he saw a puddle, he ran in it and started doing push-ups. He took away their ability to break him. It got so bad by the time they were in day 4 of Hell Week, where they get to the mud flats, which are nasty and cold, where one dude actually died from the flesh-eating bacteria. It's nasty. He starts running to go dive in, and the instructor's like, oh, hell no, Goggins, you sit this one out. They wouldn't torture him because he was already ahead, and they couldn't break him. He made it to become a Navy SEAL. The 39th Navy SEAL in U.S. history of a black man. It's very hard. It's hard for everybody. It's hard when you don't have a father figure, you don't know how to swim, and you're 310 pounds. Then he decided, this is when I heard of him before, was he hated running. What did he do every day? He ran 20-some miles to work, even though he hated it. When he was asked, why did you do that? Because he was connected on purpose. He said, I want to bring awareness to my brothers and sisters who lost their lives over in Afghanistan and Iraq. I want their kids to know their parents were heroes. Purpose. That's how he did it. He decides he's going to raise money and awareness. He decides he's going to run a 100-mile marathon. He'd just come back from Afghanistan. Now, how many of you think it's a good idea to go ahead and start from where you are right now to go ahead with no running training, decide you're going to go compete in a 100-mile marathon? Anybody sound like a good idea? Well, David's really smart. He said, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Luckily, he was really smart and he prepped properly. So he brought a gallon of Gatorade for the 100-mile marathon. That's how he prepared. And I'm not lying. So he goes out there, he runs and does a 100-mile marathon. His kidneys shut off at about mile 60. He's pissing blood. He broke his feet broke. But luckily he was smart and he brought some Gatorade, so he was prepared. He got done at 20 hours running 100 miles. He's pissing blood. They rush him to the ER. They take him. He goes into the intensive care. And while he's in there, he calls the guy because he wanted to do bad water. And he said, I did it. I did 100 miles. He goes, no, you didn't. It doesn't count. He goes, what do you mean it doesn't count? He goes, it was supposed to run for 24 hours, not 100, just 100 miles. They disqualified his 100-mile run.
Oh, yeah.
He was committed. He was connected. So what did he do? He realized he needed more than one little thing of Gatorade. He healed up and then found a harder race in Hawaii. He ran for 24 hours. He started listening to runners and started taking coaching, which for David was hard. He started listening and realizing the world wasn't against him. Started listening to coaches. They helped him. They taught him how to do it. He crushed it. Then he went and did Badwater, the hardest race in the world, most people say, 135 miles from Death Valley to the top of the mountain. If he can do that, what can you do if you're connected to purpose? You have that same power within you. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what education you have. You still have that greatness. Now, it might not be, you might not want to be a SEAL, but your business is just as important. Your love life is just as important if that's important to you. You can't do it if you're going to let society tell you who you are. You guys were born of divine greatness. You guys were born of divine lineage. It's like if King Arthur was your dad, how much of a bitch would you be? Or would you go, I'm fucking part of the lineage, baby. You got to start stepping into that because you are. God doesn't make junk and he did not start with you, but you got to own it. And you've had 40 to 50 years of being beaten down overtly and subconsciously that you're wrong because of your skin color, because of your gender. It's nonsense. And this isn't just for whites. I know my black friends, I've got a lot of black friends, they get put down too because, oh, you're lazy. It's all nonsense. It's almost like these people out there are trying to steer us to think we're less than who we can be. And I saw House of David. I highly recommend it if you guys get a chance to watch it. If nothing else, watch the final episode, which is episode 8, season 1. And Goliath is 10 feet tall and he's scaring everybody. There's 250,000 Philistines and there's only 50,000 Israelites. And Saul is going mental. He's got Alzheimer's or whatever. He's melting down and they're there. And David goes there to go fight the giant. His own brothers tried to stop him and he looks, the brothers try and stop him. They say, aren't you scared? And he says, I'm terrified. And he goes, but this isn't about me. And he talks about how this is a contest between gods. Our God is stronger. And with that faith, he went out there and ran. And when he got out there and saw how big he was, he stopped in fear for a second. He looked at Goliath. Everyone was afraid because he was 10 plus feet tall and they were all about 5 feet tall. He had no training. He had no weapons. He had no armor, no sword, no shield. And he said, God, give me the power to make just one step. And he started doing it. He started running, and Goliath started throwing spears at him that were twice as tall as he was. We all know how the story ended. But what if that story wasn't just for David against Goliath? What if that power was within us if we would reconnect and get back in faith to our dream and our greatness? Because I believe that's true. We all have our Goliath, but we've forgotten because we focus on the Goliath and we forget that we're powerful and we're of divine lineage. So when I've looked and studied people, I met one guy, and I'll wrap up, but there was this one guy I worked with. I worked with him for 6 weeks. He was a really good guy. I got to know him really good. His name was Paul, and I got to know Paul, and then the people at Robbins were all jealous, and they started bagging, like, how did you get to work? Why do you get to work with Paul? He's a multi-billionaire. I go, no, he's not. Tony asked us to work on a project. He goes, yes, he is. He's a multi-billionaire. I go, no, he's not. I've been working with him for 6 weeks. He would have mentioned it. I think I would have noticed. Well, they were right, and I was wrong. So I asked him, I go, Paul, is that true? You're a billionaire? He goes, oh, yeah. I go, wait, what? He goes, yeah, I'm worth about $2.1 billion. I go, are you kidding me? He goes, yeah. Now hear this. He goes, I got tired of being broke and I decided to get rich. So I started looking to how ways to get rich. And then I found something I innovated, I created, and I was able to sell it. My take was over $2.1 billion. But it wasn't anything like I'm thinking, oh my God, he's the next Elon Musk and the guy created this or that. He didn't do it. So I want you guys to think that greatness within David Goggins or Paul also resides in you. The only thing stopping you is the stories that you've allowed in your mind. And make no mistake, media, mainstream media, TV, all of them have an intentional desire to get you weak. That's why the additives in our food take away your testosterone. You can reverse that by lifting weights and training. There's a lot of ways to do that. It's not an accident. So if you're going to step up and want to have your best year and best life ever, you got to acknowledge the storm, but don't run from it. You fucking run to it. So I want you guys to think, as we're going through here, the last piece, once you're connected to your goal, your outcome, and your purpose, you have to decide what are your rituals and habits and what are the values and commitments you're going to make and stick to. There's a great video of an Admiral Navy SEAL. He says the single most important thing you can do every day is get up and do what?
Make your bed.
Make your bed. All he's really doing is talking about honoring yourself, doing the little things every day. And when we do that, guys, you're going to step back into your power. But right now, man, it's like watching this. And what I love about these conversations is I'm watching men everywhere step up. I'm also watching women step back into their feminine as well, by the way. There's a lot of women who are not happy about having to act like men. Women and femininity has been mocked just like masculinity and men has been mocked. So women have been pushed away from being moms. They've been pushed away from being wives and being feminine. And then if you're not a businesswoman, you're nothing. And so what's happening is both of these parties on both extremes are starting to wake up and realize the insanity of what they've been shoving at us. So as we walk into this, guys, even when Nikki's talking about something as simple as that, there's so much more there. But having good rituals and habits does not matter if you don't have a big goal, outcome, and purpose that you're going to go after. So when you set your goals, it is not normal for Nikki to be almost 60 years old and going to get an IFBB card. I'm 60 as well. And it's the sort of thing that I can still outrun almost everybody because I chose to. A few years ago, some of you remember, I ruptured my quadricep tendon, my patella tendon, and I couldn't walk. I had to learn how to walk again. And so it doesn't matter. The facts don't count when you're absolutely committed. I'm still not squatting as much, but I can still squat more than 99% of the men in this country. So it doesn't matter what you're up against. It matters you draw a line in the sand and you guys decide who you want to be and who are you willing to do it. And I'm not saying you have to become a billionaire. You don't. I want each of you to find your truth and set your values, your rituals. If that's not weightlifting, cool. Then what is your thing? Maybe it's hitting a punching bag. Boxing training, arguably one of the best martial arts there is. Get really good at boxing. Just getting the habit of hitting a bag is going to unlock a part of you that you need to express. And it's unfortunate because a lot of times too, how many of you guys by a show of hands have been interpreted when society makes you feel inferior because you're not a billionaire? Anybody get that? Like you don't have a hedge fund, you don't have a jet, you don't have a Lamborghini. That's the biggest crock of shit there is. Bernie Madoff was the biggest piece of shit. He stole. Jordan Belfort, scumbag, stole $250 million from grandparents. He's paid back $2 million. That's not a man. But that's what society edifies. Oh, they're rich. Wolf on Wall Street's going to talk. Fuck him. Get back to me when you go ahead and pay back those families $500 million to their families because most of the grandparents lost their entire retirement to your con. We need men to step up and men to get back at it, and men to go ahead and to really realize that you have nothing to apologize for unless you've been accepting their lie. You guys get back and start honoring who you are. There's nobody, when a house is on fire, they're not going to call for the women. They're calling you. When shit hits the fan, they're not calling for the women, they're calling for you. So let's make sure that we rise to that. And again, the best time to prepare for battle is before the arrows are flying. We've got a little bit of a window here where we can get after it and start becoming the men that God intended us to be. And that's my challenge to you guys. I have mad respect for you. This is arguably one of the hardest things there is to do, is to start by being in a group like this. And certainly listening to Nikki and, getting on you guys, most men can't handle that. They just can't. My martial arts instructor, out of all the instructors in Los Angeles when I was in martial arts, I luckily picked a guy that was the old school hard kind where we did not wear pads and it was full contact. And if you pulled a punch, he would come out and kick your ass. I watched people train for years, and it was like 5 years before their black belt test. And all of a sudden he comes around and does super stretch where he pushes you past vertical on the splits. 6 of us, 3 of them never came back after training for 5 years. You'd walk around with a kendo stick, and after about 500 to 1,000 kicks, jump kicks, all these kicks, he swings it at your waist like a baseball bat. And if you don't jump above that after a few thousand kicks, you fucking get racked. One guy got his ankle broken. Didn't care. He used to recruit people from prisons after prisons. We had several of our black belts were prison guards. They would invite the prisoners to come down, and they got to go ahead and we had to wear pads for those guys. But they would do that. But what it did is make really hard martial artists. It's a whole new world, guys. There's a whole new world of opportunity for you. You will not get there if you're buying the lie that's been spewed at you that you have to be like Alan Alda or Justin Trudeau or any of these people that are ahead of us. You know it true in your heart. I want you guys to go back and decide, where do you want to go for in the next 1 to 5 years? 1 to 5 years, you can reestablish every part that you've always wanted. And that's what I would challenge you guys to do. So that would be, I know I talked fast. I wanted to try and get through with a lot of you guys. I'm happy to take any questions, Nikki, or answer and kind of see if this resonates and see how I can clarify or help get you guys to the next level.
All right, men, I want to hear from everybody. So question or comment, who's going to go first?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
What were the 3 things you said? If you could get clarity and your results align on these 3 things: your body, your financial, business, and success.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can, on the other one, you can also do this too. This can be your bucket list, your love life, your bucket list, meaning I don't want you working in a cubicle. You need to, like what Nikki and I are talking about. I've noticed that when people have things that inspire them, they do more. So if this is part of the thing I was talking about, when you, for example, I got caught in this trap where I would make a lot of money, and you know what I got out of it? Not even as much as a thank you. And I remember when, as an example, I was doing over 7 figures a year, and I was running with my daughter 70 miles a week to help train her because she had been bullied by bullies. So I start running with her. I train her. I reach out to every Olympic coach, women's coach, women Olympians, and I became very, very good and connected in women's running. I got certified in linear running. I got certified in USATF. I knew more about it, and I was one of the only civilians, if you will, that was in the high-level trainings. Everyone else was a collegiate coach. And I'm running 70 miles a week, and I was about 50 years old. That's a lot on 50-year-old legs. And I'm running, and I bought my daughter a pair of recovery pump boots that cost retail $5,000. I found the manufacturer. I got them direct. I bought them the medical version. I got them for $250. They're amazing. The Normatec is the one, that if you've seen them, Normatec is the boots, and then they also have recovery pump boots. So I'm still not getting to use them because Montana's using them all the time. So I buy another one. I'm making $1 million a year. I bought another one. They were only 150. And my ex-wife at the time, was basically gave me shit like I fucking raped a kid because I spent $150. And the problem was that I was not respected, even though I was making $1 million a year. The fact that I was the only parent out of 120 kids, one parent ran with them. I wasn't getting respected for that. I wasn't getting respected for the fact my daughter went from being bullied to a champion. I didn't get any positive feedback from pretty much anybody. I got attacked by the coaches that said I was pressuring my daughter. I got attacked all sorts of shit, but I knew the truth. So you have to get really clear. So those are some of the things in bucket list. I remember and I've done this with a lot of my team. When my team, I had a guy that I couldn't seem to get to move forward. And I asked him, I said, David, why aren't you performing? You're the most talented guy on my team. He goes, honestly, if I make $4,000 a month, my wife's off my ass. I go, well, what happens if you make 10? I go, she's still off my ass, but I don't get anything out of it. It's not like I get more sex. It's not like I get this, I get that. So he didn't have an incentive for him. It sounds petty, but again, so I said, do you think your wife would be pissed off? I said, what is something you really want? He goes, well, I want this, but he knew immediately. It was about a $5,000 bike. I didn't realize they had such a thing, but apparently mountain bikes are really expensive. So I said, do you think your wife would be pissed off? Because he was only averaging about $4,000 or $5,000 a month. Water seeks its own level. So I work with David, and then he goes, yeah, she'd be happy if I made 10,000. Here's the deal. Propose to Kelly and ask her. For the first 10,000 goes to you and the family. You pay the mortgage, would get you a new minivan, and then sales 11, 12, 13 go to me to pay for my bike. Sales 14 go to you, so that you're at 11,000. And then when I get 15, you get that one too, but I get the bonus. He never went below 15 sales again because he was getting something out of it. It sounds stupid, but the bigger picture here was I realized that men rarely get what we want. It's always about the family. It's always about someone else. It's always about that. And we kind of get lost in there. So I'm going to challenge you to find things that when you hit your goals, like Michael, when you hit your $1 million, you need to have a big ass reward. When you're doing your cruises, you go on a cruise, don't do the little ones. Get rich so that you can get the sweets. It's much better. Never fly coach again. Start flying first class or business. But the other one I would have you do is start thinking about bucket list. Bucket list is a big driver. And each person has their own bucket list. So I would have you look at bucket list items. I also believe love life is really important. I'm not telling you who to believe and who to love. That's up to you. But when you become the man you're meant to be, watch what happens in your love life. If you're single, you will attract somebody at your frequency. And this group is going to help you learn how to stay in integrity and be the man that not cower. Because mark my words, those women are going to test the fuck out of you. If you don't know what to do, man, you're going to be miserable and you're giving it away to them in the divorce. Don't do that. But I would have you look at love life. So for me personally, I would want to have those. And the last one would be impact. I believe we're here more than just getting rich. So for me, the other one is my impact. What are my impact goals? When I take my final breath, how do I want to be remembered? What kind of impact do I want to have on my kids, the people that knew me, the people that as well, my books, my impact, my stages, whatever. So those are the big 5 for me, but you can decide, but make sure you get at least the big 3. If you're broke, you can't help as many people. If you're sick, you can't help as many people. So you got to fix the basic ones first and build your foundation upon it. Does that make sense, Michael?
Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Dickie, you're next. Question or comment?
I have a comment, and it's have to do with Blue. So I'm on my physical goal journey right now, and I was going a little bit slow for the last 3 months. I have a big weight loss goal that I want to meet, and I was about to give up. Not give up, but just kind of like be okay with doing a little bit. And Blue pushed me, and he said, this is what you need to do. And so just by listening to him and taking that on, I'm now doing much more than I was doing before. Instead of working out 3 or 4 days, I'm working out 5. I've now added like 5 or 6 days of cardio on top of that. I haven't missed any of my meals, and the results are coming. And a couple weeks ago, I thought, no fucking way I can do that. I can't push any harder. But funnily enough, I'm pushing harder, and I feel like I have more energy and I'm better than I ever was. I got new clients in my business.
Yep.
Things are going really well with my wife.
How do you feel as a man when you looked at that and you're honoring your commitment and recognizing every time you step up, knowing that you could have played small, but you stepped up? How does that
I feel like, fuck yeah.
Exactly. That's the top feeling I'm talking about, guys. That's available to all of us. Yeah. And we also did the opposite too. I've done the opposite too, where I start cheating on my diet, and I noticed something too when I coach people and I train. I'm pretty high strung and motivated. You guys would agree. How long before I start thinking about cheating on my diet? Who can tell me? If I disconnect from my goal, how long before I really want to justify that ribeye? I mean, not ribeye because that's awesome, but before I'm thinking about having a whole pizza?
Yeah, an hour.
Pretty good. 1 day. I can go for one day. If I disconnect from the goal and the feeling of the goal, my mind is already starting to think, Marc, you need more fat in your diet, and pizza is pretty much fat and you're going to feel so much better. Right? I kid you not. And then I think, you know what? I haven't had carbs in fucking forever. I should probably go get that big bag of chocolate donuts that are all waxy and everything and get those. And my mind, it literally starts talking to me, telling me that, you could do it. And what the gap was I was disconnected from the goal, which was why I started you guys with that. You have to get connected to the goal. So I'm going to challenge you, Dickie, and this is the part I'd like you to do. Find a picture of the ultimate body you want. Don't worry about how long it takes you to get there. In my case, it was Stallone. And I wanted to be Rambo 2 or 3 or Stallone Rocky 3. Okay, those were the goals I looked at. And I kept that in I bought the 8x10s off eBay in the day or before I bought them from whatever. I kept those with me. And 8 years after I started, I met Stallone's bodyguard. His name was Tank. He was Black Hulk. That was amazing. He never lifted a weight in his life, and he literally looked like Black Hulk. And a super nice guy. And he comes up to me and goes, man, you just look less like Sly. And I go, are you serious? He goes, yeah, Sly's only 5'8". He only weighs 160 to 180 pounds tops. And I'm like, I would have never known, because in my mind, it was bigger. And I had kept that vision in my head over and over and over again. I looked at it every single day. And it took me about 8 years to get where people said I looked like Stallone. So the brain, and they've actually done studies on this, but the brain can actually change the way that you will start to look. So pick a picture of something you want. You don't have to share it with anybody. This can just be you. The most important piece, once you have the target, is the feeling you're going to get. Every day, I want you to go to sleep and imagine waking up. And if you take a piss at night, you go back to bed. Go back thinking about that version of you. Pretend that you have your six-pack. Imagine that your wife can't keep her hands off you because you're a total badass. She's super proud of you. Imagine every one of your friends are jealous going, dude, what happened to Brian? Dude, you're on steroids. You look too good. What if that's possible? And you have to go there in your mind and your heart first. And as you do that, the other things you're doing will work even better. And I know because I've done it both ways. I've done extreme diets where I lost and I put on muscle at the same time. And then I've done the exact same diet with more regimen, but my mind was saying it's not going to work. And it didn't. I gained 8 pounds of fat. So I want you to go back and really do that. And like I told Michael, I want you to honor the fact that you chose to step back into your greatness. Because if you don't honor it and accept it, it's kind of like you're doing kick-ass things and you're not acknowledging that version of you. So make sure you acknowledge you too. That will help you get to the next level. But stay connected to the outcome as if you have it now. That's a big game changer. I wish somebody told me years ago.
Phenomenal session. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Sovereign Man podcast. If you're ready to take charge of your life and become the man you've always wanted to be, we invite you to join the movement at sovereignman.ca.